Tēnā tātou katoa, ngā mihi mō te tauhou. Happy New Year and welcome to another episode of Turanga Health is Wealth. We're here to welcome in the new year, of course, but also to talk about what was a massive 2025 for our local Māori hauora provider. Now, who better to take us down memory lane? Hopefully he can remember all that was 2025. CEO Rewati Ropiha. But if not, we've got his trusty sidekick here, Service Manager Dallas Poi, to fill in the blanks. Kia ora kōrua.
Kia ora.
It's always nice to start with the highlights, but what stood out for you in 2025?
Yeah, the probably 2025 for us, it was a different sort of feel. The successive years prior, we had the global pandemic with COVID. We just got over the natural disaster with the cyclone. So this year presented us a different sort of challenge, more in the environment, more in the sort of political sort of space around the reform that was happening. And so we needed to set ourselves a bit of a catch cry. So we borrowed the Chinese zodiac, year of the snake, and we converted that into tuna, the year of the tuna. Why? Well, from Maraitaha through to the Waipawa, the Hangaroa, etc., there's a food source, and so the features of the tuna, agility, nimbleness, wisdom, guile, all those sorts of attributes, they personified with us for the hauora. So those were the sort of things that were going to guide us well for 25, and so we turned it on and we had a go. And so, we wanted to be first out of the blocks because we knew that we needed to create distance from everybody else as far as the hauora was concerned. And did you want to stay in the space where everybody is and let your bottom lips hit the floor because of all the noise that was happening? Or were you going to make things be relevant, be authentic, sustainable, keep things timely so that they made a difference for whānau real time? And so that sort of set the whāriki for the hauora. And the three things that stood out for me with that sort of appetite. We did a big initiative with the winter preparedness, a couple of good relationships with the opticians and the audiologist and the dentist. We got that one going. We maintained a lot of our learnings from COVID and the cyclone and got that embedded into our organisation, which gave us the opportunity to do things, whether it's 6 o'clock in the morning or take advantage of daylight saving. So we're able to maintain that sort of space. And then we were able to pivot into sort of backyards, the Elgin backyard, Riverdale backyard, Matawai through to Muriwai, broccoli paddock, shearing shed. So we maintain that sort of essence as well. So those are probably things for me that was all about the 2025 year, the year that was.
Dallas, was there anything that really worked in terms of communicating the services and getting whānau, to come into the hauora space?
Yeah, there was a big push this year at Rewati just around that virtual space for us, and being able to get, what was happening in our backyards for our whānau. So ensuring that we had some good traction in our virtual platforms, Facebook, and also podcast series and things like that to ensure that whānau were connecting with us, not just kānohi, but also online as well. So we made a deliberate attempt to be able to ensure that we had a good traction with the social media going for us. But you can't beat face-to-face at the end of the day as well, so having the multiple faces across Turanga Health, staff in particular, being able to push those key messages out for us as well. So coupled with that, alongside the online presence, allowed us to get out, ensure whānau knew what we're up to, what we were doing in our backyard, and connecting into those key relationships in the community as well.
We're whānau quick to let you guys know, using some of those platforms as well, about what was working and what wasn't.
Oh, very much so, Rewati. The thing is, going virtual, you really put yourself on the line, put your necks on the line. Anyone can be at the other end of that media space. So we had to be open to everything that came, really, the good, the bad, the ugly, and be ready for it.
So you're in the business of people, caring and supporting whānau. Is there any stories that you remember or highlights, you know, from visiting someone's home, or really seeing the way that they've appreciated a particular service, a tree in the ground, a knock on the door?
Yes, probably one or two. We've been, probably 2025 has been one of the toughest years that we've had to experience. When I look back at a number of the years that we've been around, but this year in particular, and probably around, you know, income going into people's households and how that is definitely impacted, whether it's the kids in the uniforms and, you know, lunches and all that sort of stuff, or the hours of work and all those sorts of things. So, you know, we're starting to see that, the unfortunate space, whānau coming through. A couple of things that sort of stand out on a positive space, piggybacking on what you did with the mandarins, was the opportunity to give back. So, you know, we were able to do a couple of pivots and get some rangatahi to come out and help with the fruits of matariki, and different way of fundraising outside of standing out the warehouse and shifting sausages on a barbecue. But, you know, that age-old sort of, nothing comes for free. And so the privilege of having them to come in different spaces to do things old school. But that was fruit picking, and then giving them the opportunity to travel overseas and all those sorts of things. That probably stood out as something that gave substance, making a difference. And then I look back at some of the things where, you know, if I could zoom in on a couple of whānau that we work with special needs, putting their hand up to do things that much more different, to things around doing co-ops to, you know, get ready for their Christmas. So over a period of 2 months, chipping in about $1, you know, every week, to then have their Christmas hamper. No MSD, no government departments, no nothing, just, you know, and that sort of gave a great feel that they could do those sorts of things, like all of us. And so as long as they got the right sort of pathway. And then to double down on that, I think this year was the biggest, where they put in for the AMP show, and they put up their wearable art, or the things that they've done and that they do, and we were able to champion that at the AMP show. You know, I think they had over like 100 and something entrants. But again,
is there a whānau from the Vanessa
Alliance, special needs, and the opportunities to, you know, other things that they do, but to profile and get them to champion the space, and that sort of, they were two things that sort of stood out.
Dallas, any memorable?
Obviously spoke about the winter preparedness, which brought out whānau with long-term conditions, young mums, and whānau with mental health and addictions. And so that approach was around connecting them to dental and to glasses. And so I can recall a number of whānau coming through just around their appreciation of one, being able to see, and also being able to have their teeth seen to because of the cost. I also can recall a kaumātua group that came through around their dentures, and just having them come through and kōrero around, now I can eat, I can bite, and I can, have a kai. Some of them weren't, it was around restorative, and so some of them couldn't even close their mouth or eat properly. So seeing those differences make, a whole world to our whānau. Also, I think about we had a group of our workplaces come through around having their eyes tested. Their hearing tested. And so again, these were the guys, primary industry workers, who were in environments where it was high noise level. And some of them were coming through with very low hearing levels. And so being able to see them come through, get tested, and then be connected to hearing aids, made a world of a difference to our whānau. So yeah, those were some of the highlights I saw with whānau coming through and the experiences that they were having, that they would less likely be able to have if the opportunity didn't present itself through us here.
And I guess, a lot of these things we take for granted, just being able to see, hear, eat, life-changing. Yeah. Well, let's look ahead. I'm sure there's some big things coming up in 2026. What do we got to look forward to?
Yeah, so we I suppose for the whole world, our spaces is not to be remembered as the space for one-offs. So, we champion the opportunity so we can sustain things so they're not just on a library shelf. So, there's probably about 4 or 5 things that will give us that momentum for 2026. I mean, 2026 is going to be the year of the election. I straight up, that's the space that's going to happen. So, we'll be looking to see of that space of acceleration, where and what that would be. I think there's probably about 5 things that stand out for us. We've got a couple of big research publications that are on the horizon that we want to get published. One of the big ones is the Kaumata program, so we'll be looking to champion that space hopefully in the next the first 2 to 3 months. We're going to repeat the winter preparedness, so we've got the dentist coming back on board, just sorting out the relationships with the optician. But again, we'll be looking to drive that through, and same sort of approach. Have it where it's mobile, so rural, urban, and zoom in on the pockets of whānau who are pretty much struggling, the struggle streets. So it shouldn't be people like Dallas being number one, being the first one there. We're trying to maintain, I spoke about authenticity, keeping things real, and we've been using a lot of backyards. We've used the backyard of Elgin, we've used the backyard of Riverdale, but keeping those backyards, vibrant. Whether it's things like food security, we've taken a couple of the settings of the council, and we've planted Māori spuds. We've put some fruit trees in and all those sorts of things. Just different ways of how we can make an impact in the backyard. And I suppose, so that the cyclone, if it taught us anything, food security was one chasm, that people were screaming out for. So here's an attempt to try and squeeze that one. So that's the third one that will definitely maintain our presence with workforce going in. So, we had the dramas around the measles outbreak and all those sorts of things. Touch wood, it doesn't turn up in 2026. But having that kaimahi with us of that COVID times, the cyclone times, in our 2026, we've maintained that sort of workforce. So that gives us, that sort of tacit the ability to learn of the experiences. So that gives us our momentum.
What about people out there that might be listening to this or have heard about the great mahi that you're doing and thinking, hey, I've got some skills that I might be able to contribute, or how could I maybe help out with a certain program, or is the door open? Are you guys ready for support?
Yeah, I think our door is open for those sort of, the conversations, the opportunity to have a kōrero. In the same sort of breath, we don't go there to appease everybody, but we're out for a conversation piece. We were out the other day helping a couple of events, and we had a couple of volunteers just turn up and give us their time. Gracious of that sort of space. They're helping us to park cars. So, but the presence to be in the backyard and being seen to contribute or give back, that's still a big yearning in our sort of backyard. And like you saw with the fruit and all those sorts of things, there's still that, I suppose, civic responsibility that whānau who can give don't want to be seen blowing the trumpet because they've done these things. They want to stay under the radar as long as it makes a difference in someone's whare, and it gives whānau the space where there's some good people still in our backyard and they do care, and I think that's still in abundance. And these sorts of conversations where whānau do want to put their hand up, come and have a conversation. I mean, yeah, we're not there to appease, but there'll be spaces where, you know, your skill sets might be able to assist us, but we'll have the conversation.
Final words to whānau, to funders, to anyone that you sort of, you know, are looking to maybe partnering with, or, you know, future ministers and MPs?
Yeah, man, she's it's a dynamic space. There's some good things on the horizon. You know, there's some fantastic sort of, well, from our particular lens, there's some dynamic sort of spaces that are being opened up. You know, could you sit on the sidelines and watch with a pair of binoculars, or you've got to put your sort of right foot forward? We've decided to put our right foot forward. And as Dalla sort of said, you know, 10% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So I think 26 is going to be, yeah, watch the space. You know, we're looking to decide the sort of, you know, where you can give us that acceleration, but yeah, we wouldn't be looking to change too much of the relationships that we have, you know, whether they're with kura, the marae and all those sorts of things. You know, it's the consistent message. They're looking for trusted faces who have their backs and can do the do. You know what I mean? That's the currency of the kōrero that comes consistently through. And I suppose that's the thing that we would put to those in the other relationship spaces. Yeah, we live and breathe this backyard. We do know the corners of the backyard that a lot of settings won't go to. They stay away from. And we've done our best to try and get in there. Still make mistakes and all those sorts of things, but I think that's the value add. And we come with experience, and we're prepared to have a go. Yes, it would be embodied of our faces, not just of today, but all the faces of yesteryear who've you know, always had, whether they've been on the pie or they've been at any of the settings, you know, the manifestation of all that sort of insight. That's what we hold, and that's what we'll bring to 2026 as well.
Oh, tautoko, everything that Iwiti said. I don't think I could add too much more to that, but roll on 2026 really.
That's right, roll on 2026. So kia ora kōrua. Good luck. You know, I guess you can't underestimate the challenges.
No, that's right. Yeah,
that are right there in front of us in terms of not only the health system, but just the whānau and the weight
times
and challenges that are on a lot of our whānau. Well, last year, and I think that's going to continue into this year. And as you say, with the big election coming up, they're the ones that a lot of these decisions will impact on. So, kia ora.
Kia ora, mate.
Well, that's us for this episode of Turanga Health is Wealth. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure we're going to have more of these popping up over 2026 as well. But for now, have a great year. Kia ora tātou katoa.